Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Dr. Olli-Pekka Heinonen, who's the Director General of International Baccalaureate, the well-known higher secondary, pre-primary to higher secondary board now, but initially well-known for higher secondary school-leaving education. Just a brief introduction to Dr. Heinonen. He has a Master of Laws degree from Helsinki University. He's the Director General of the Finnish National Agency for Education, which covers the whole gamut from early childhood to lifelong learning. Earlier, he was in various positions in the Finnish government, including State Secretary between 2012-2016, Minister of Education and Science between 94-99, and also held various senior commercial positions in the Finnish National Broadcasting Company. And as you know, ladies and gentlemen, to our readers, Finland is perhaps the world's most well-educated country with an excellent education system. They regularly top all the rankings, international rankings, for the excellent quality of education. So, very kind of you to agree to an interview with us, and we are very pleased to welcome you. Thank you. So, let me start straight away. This is a very auspicious occasion. It's the 50th anniversary year of IB. What were the objectives for which IB was established in Geneva and now also in The Hague 50 years ago? What were the original objectives, sir?
Well, thank you very much for the possibility to join and have this discussion. The objectives when IB was created were kind of twofold. First of all, there was the idea that the people who created the IB had experienced the horrors of the Second World War. And they were thinking that if one would create an educational program from the scratch in order it to help avoid that kind of horrible events to happen again, what would that program look like? So that was the idea of 12 schools coming together and starting to imagine that kind of a program, and that's how it was created. The other element that was very central was that was a time when the internationalism and also kind of the number of diplomatic corps and also starting international companies were created. So there was a need to have a diploma of high quality that would be recognized by all the universities in the world. So that was the other kind of main aim of creating the IB diploma program.
So right from the start, it was meant to be an international program with people all over the world simultaneously taking this education program. Am I right?
Exactly. That was the aim.
So now 50 years later, looking back, how pleased are you that these original objectives that were established for the IB have been achieved?
Well, of course, I would say that it started with 12 schools, and now we have about 6,100 schools with IB.
Really? Oh.
It started with the secondary education. Now we have programs from 3-year-olds to 19-year-olds, 4 different programs. We are functioning in 160 different countries, and we are educating about 2 million students per year and are growing very rapidly actually at the moment in different parts of the world. So there has been a hunger for this kind of an education. And of course, as it was when IB was created, there was that strong kind of societal task. And we have, during the centuries, we have also evolved, always connecting to the kind of challenges in the world and adapted those in the IB programs. And that's what we continue to do. And I think that has kept the IB program relevant, even in the world of artificial intelligence, for example, which we are experiencing now.
The the original idea was as you mentioned, it was introduced at the end of the Second World War. The original idea was to create a more peaceful world, so and greater international cooperation. On that particular metric, how satisfied are you with the IB program?
Well, of course, if you look at the world, there
Yes.
definitely is a lot to be done on that one. And that's something that we have kept as a core element. So our mission statement in today's situation is that IB wants to uh, support to create a better and more peaceful world through education. So that peace element has stayed very strong. And that's what we are working very hard, of course, in areas of conflicts also. Internationally looked, 1 in 5 students today globally lives in an area which is affected by conflict. So there's a lot for us to do in that sense, and it keeps us going day to day.
Yeah, I think the original idea when you started IB was that if you put students on the same curriculum, the same syllabus, and they're studying the same things, then they'll be more inclined to cooperate with each other. And that would lead to international peace and harmony. Am I correct?
That was the idea. And of course, there were also kind of study entities that strongly emphasized the international mindedness, the openness, the
Yes.
intercultural understanding. And those remain very, very core of the IB programs. And of course, one element is not just students studying the same things in different countries, but also students connecting with other students in other countries so that it's not just on a theoretical level, but also in concrete ways to collaborate to see that where people coming from different countries, how they are thinking and learn that kind of a collaboration.
Yes. I think one of the great attractions of the IB program when it was first introduced and even to this day, that it goes beyond academic learning. That it's a much more holistic, more well-rounded program. Perhaps you could elaborate a bit on that.
That's very true. So there's, from the very beginning, there's been certain elements that many other education systems don't include even today. And
Yes.
then I would like to mention the element, for example, of the service, which means that you cannot get the diploma for IB if you don't do the service for your community. It's a project that you do something valuable for the community around you. And that's in today's world so important that it's not just that what do you get from education, but also that what the world is asking from you and what you can contribute to others. And that's a valuable part and doing it, it's something concrete that you are doing, not just learning about, but using what you know to help others. So that's one element. And then, of course, then what is very special for IB is courses like theory of knowledge, which is how we understand what is true, what is real, what are the different ways of knowing. And again, in today's world, when we are thinking about the number of or the amount of disinformation and misinformation, the deep fake and all that, that how important that idea is. And it was created kind of tens of years ago. So it is something that also something that you don't really see in many other education systems.
The theory of knowledge program is actually how to create new knowledge. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
it is. It is. It has that element
That's
in
in
it.
fact very
Yeah,
valuable. I think that's
yeah,
a USP, a unique
yeah,
selling proposition of the IB
exactly.
curriculum and syllabus.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So when originally IB was introduced as a diploma program for higher secondary education, but as you mentioned in your opening remarks, you've gone all the way downwards to early years education. How satisfied are you with that downward integration?
Well, we are actually very pleased with it because it has enabled that students can go through the whole learning path with IB. And that's what we are seeing more and more. That we have the IB graduates who are telling us that they have started IB at the age of 5 or at the age of 3 in some cases. And it I would say that it makes the impact stronger because in that way, for example, the inquiry-based learning,
Learning.
which is very
Yes.
important for
Very.
IB, they really understand that concept. Or the learner profile, which is the profile of different attributes that kind of all IB students reflect that how they are kind of doing with those attributes.
Yes.
They really kind of get to internalize those elements of IB learning constantly kind of when moving forward on a higher level, but the same big questions and big concepts kind of are repeated along the different programs.
Having a questioning mind right from the beginning. Am I right? A
That's
mindset.
right. The asking the right questions is a core element of what IB is to strengthen that curious mind and that kind of
Yes.
explorer mindset.
Yes. This obviously this explains the rapid growth, as you said, to some 6,000, 9,000 schools across the world today.
6,000, 6,100. Yes.
So now, one of the questions that arises, IB is a non-profit organization, right? But
Yes.
your affiliate by third world standards, your affiliation, teacher training, and exam fees are like 4x of say Cambridge and other international boards. How is this justified?
Well, it's justified for the reason that we, when there's a school that wants to become IB school. Our requirement for them to be capable of being in charge of IB programs and that way of teaching and learning, we require that the whole personnel of a school needs to go through certain trainings.
Oh,
So the cost isn't that high per one teacher. I would say that the cost probably is very similar that in other programs. But the question is that we want the whole teacher force to go through that training in order that that higher quality of teaching and learning is really achieved.
so
So
it permeates the whole faculty. That's what you're saying.
exactly, and I think that's where we are different from other education boards that we require more, and I think we reach through that also higher quality.
Yeah, I think that's an urgent, that's a important message that comes through from the IB model is that you can't really have excellence at a very cheap price. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know whether in socialist countries like India, so-called socialist countries, Finland also, I believe, is a socialist country, but
Mm.
uh, education being very cheaply priced. As a result of that is that the kind of curriculum and syllabus excellence and formulation and training is not so successful. Yes, that's an important takeaway from what you've just said. So now that, I think you mentioned just now that we are entering the digital AI era and the global trend towards self-learning. How well adjust is the IB syllabus. I don't think you call yourself IBO anymore. I think the IB syllabus for self-learning.
Well, I think that because it is really strongly aligned with the inquiry approach,
Yes.
cause that's really the idea that you gradually learn to take charge of your own learning. And with that curious mind, it's that ability to learn that you strengthen. And of course also there's a lot of elements in the IB programs where uh, you do kind of portfolios, you do extended essays where you are really kind of showing everything that you're capable of doing, and you have a lot of agency on kind of being in charge of those elements. So it's not just definitely not that the teacher is transferring knowledge, but
Mm.
it's the student who is finding the knowledge, the student who is really engaging with their learning and also being capable of kind of using knowledge in different contexts. So the
Application. I think
yes,
that's the
and the
infirmity of K to 12 education in a lot of third world countries, that we have a lot of knowledge, but our students are not trained to apply knowledge. And I think in the IB program also there's a lot of emphasis on project
yeah,
work. Is there not?
it is true, and in all of those programs, the doing their projects from a very early age. That is big part of it, and I often take part in the situations where the projects are presented, and it's so great to see the proudness of the students to show that what they have been capable of creating themselves. And that proudness is really kind of valuing learning and showing what you're capable of doing. And by showing what you're capable of doing, you also strengthen your self-confidence that you can make a change, that you can do something valuable. And in that sense, it strengthens the motivation and agency of young people.
I think when you combine that with community service,
Yeah.
when you combine project implementation with community service, it gives a great opportunity to students to learn while doing. Am I right?
Very true. And also in in these days where we are seeing that there is also quite a lot of kind of mental well-being, mental
Yes,
health challenges that young people are facing, that when you are doing something concrete to others, you also help yourself because you
yes,
see that I have value, I am important to other people,
yes.
and by helping others, you help yourself
Mhm.
to have a better well-being.
So, in the now new digital and AI age, there's a huge demand for skills education. That's one of the infirmities of, say, developing countries. Have a lot of theoretical education, but not skills education. So, how satisfied are you with, you have introduced a new skills development program called IBCP. So what is the progress of that? What is the popularity of that program? Has it worked well?
The career-related program is the youngest of the IB programs, so it has been there now a little bit more than 10 years,
Okay.
and it is the fastest going program right now of all of the IB programs. And it has some of the elements that the diploma program has. But then there is that element of the career-related studies
Mm.
where you can go deeper on one area which is closer to the world of work. Whether
That is
it's
at the
kind of
higher secondary level, right?
on the 16 plus on the higher secondary level.
Yeah, 16 plus.
And it enables it's a program that actually opens a lot of doors for young people to choose after that program, because you can choose to go to a university still. Many universities are recognizing the career-related program in a similar way that they recognize the diploma program. But then you also have gotten capabilities to maybe start an enterprise yourself,
Mm.
or you have the ability to go to the world of work, and maybe come back later to the higher studies if you have that wish to do. So it's we are very satisfied with that program, and we're actually looking for that particular program to grow quite rapidly in the future years.
So how many schools are currently signed up for the IBCP program? Like you have 6,000 for the IB. How many for the IBCP?
Well, because it's the youngest of the programs, we are still talking about under 1,000 programs with the career-related program. But as I said, it's a fasting growing program. Our biggest regions for career-related program are actually the United States is the biggest one, but then India is very big one also. So there is I think about 50 career-related program schools in India.
Okay.
So it's and they are in that's a sector which is growing also in India strongly.
So I'm very interested in this IBCP program. Can you give an example when you say you're doing the plus two school program, but you can focus on a particular career at that stage? I mean,
Yeah.
can you elaborate? How does it work, for example?
Well, there are kind of models that we partner with different companies, for example, or organizations to together create a career-related study course where we make sure that that course is relevant from the point of view of the world of work.
For
And
example, can you give an
well,
example?
for
Say,
example, that's what we're doing with Microsoft, for example, that you can go into the IT and digital sector, or you can go to the management side, or what we are doing right now with the organization of the United Nations Tourism Organization to concentrate on tourism and so on.
it's experiential education, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
you
it's a
say, and you say that is growing very fast in India, right?
it is growing. It is growing, definitely. And there
That
clearly is a need in the world for that kind of a program. Cause the change in the world of work is very fast.
yes,
And also we need to make sure that the people entering the workforce are highly qualified, because we see that AI is also maybe replacing certain entry-level tasks.
mm,
So we need to make sure that the competencies of young people to entering the working life are on a high enough level.
yeah, that is really good news for in India, because as an employability program, when people graduate, they're not ready for industry. So this kind of program would make them, job ready to a
Exactly.
great extent.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. That's a very good initiative that you've taken. So now, just to ask a general question, what is the future of, we are all confused. What is the future of learning in the AI age? It's a broad question, but
It is a broad question. Uh, I would say that uh, we need to understand that what the AI is capable of doing,
Mm,
and what is it that also in the era of AI remains a human responsibility.
mm,
And I think it's very clear that AI is capable of doing certain cognitive tasks faster and more reliably than we humans are. But then there is the question of that remains to be human uh, responsibility in the future also, is to make the judgments what is relevant in the world. AI doesn't have intention. It's humans who kind of program it to do certain tasks, but it doesn't itself have any intention. So the question of what we see as valuable remains human choice. And of course, also the question that what is the ethical part of decisions that we humans need to master also in the future.
so
And
should we? So would you say we should fear or we should rejoice about AI? What's your opinion?
my opinion is that we should, as students and as educators, we should engage with AI. We should learn that what it's good for, and we should also learn that where it's not that good or where there are risks in using AI. And you cannot do that if you don't really work with it. So our message to IB schools have been from the very beginning of the hype, when it started a couple of years ago, that engage with it, learn from it. Also, for the students, for them to use their creativity
Mm.
to work with AI, and those are the elements that we definitely hope that the our schools and our students are doing, and by that kind of becoming capable of working with AI. Sometimes there is the idea that with AI that it would mean that there is now some effortless learning. But there isn't such a thing as that effortless learning. Learning always takes an
Requires effort.
effort. And
Yeah.
it's not enough that students ask whatever is the AI application, what's the right answer, and then memorize the right answer, because then they don't know how to
Yes.
come to that answer. And that learning path is the most important part. And it's kind of sometimes it would be the same thing that you would go to a gym and you would ask a robot to do all the heavy lifting, that you would think that you are getting stronger when the robot is doing that. It's the same thing with
AI.
strengthening your cognitive muscles. You have to do that heavy lifting still in the future.
So you have held many senior positions in Finnish education. So I want to ask you a question. What is the distinguishing characteristics which have made Finland so educationally strong? I mean,
Mm.
as a nation. I mean, what
Yeah.
is the USP of Finnish education?
Mm. Well, I would like to mention a couple things. First, I would say that the high quality of teachers is a very central element.
Okay.
That in Finland, uh, the teacher education quality on a master's level is high, and also young people want to become teachers.
Because
So
well
the
remunerated also.
Yes, so the best students go to universities to become teachers, which means that we have the best teachers in that sense. And then we also trust the teachers. So the community supports them, and the teachers have a lot of autonomy to be in charge of their teaching and also developing their own work. And that's another important element, that there is in the whole education system, there's a lot of trust. That the on the national level, it's the kind of core curriculum that is decided there. But then the concrete curriculum is happening on the school level. That's where it's decided. And then the teacher autonomy. And then actually the trust goes all the way to the student, that we also want to make sure that there is a trustful relationship between the teacher and the student, so that the student dares to say that I didn't understand what we were taught last week. Because that's the moment when learning is enabled. It starts with admitting that I don't know something. And that kind of an atmosphere is very, very central for quality education to happen. So I would say that those are some of the most important elements. Maybe the third one is really the question of, like the IB, also the Finnish model is very holistic. It really, as it says in the legislation of the compulsory education in Finland, that the aim is to support each student to grow into humanity and to become a responsible member of the society, and to have the knowledge and skills that is needed in life. So that kind of not just concentrating on learning certain things, but the final aim is to grow into humanity.
So also, Finland, the government spends a lot of money on it, education. Well, it's about is it 8 to 10% of GDP?
It is a substantial part of the state budget that
Budget.
is used for education, and of course it has an impact on what's the outcome, that the resources and the teacher pay and those core elements are in shape.
What percent? Do you recall what percent of the GDP is devoted for education in Finland?
I dare not to say. I've been a couple of years away from Finland, so I dare not to say anything that I don't give you a wrong number.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, I think we've now finished our interview. Any comment? Any further comment?
No, not really. I think just maybe saying that with all the changes then and kind of big questions happening in the world right now, I think education has a real big role to play for us to be making sure that we can create that better and more peaceful world. And I think we often, in many countries, we talk about the problems when we're talking about education.
Yes.
And we forget the fact that education is probably the strongest tool that societies have to make the society better.
Yes.
And they should be used for that purpose.
I couldn't agree more. Dr. Heinonen, thank you very much for your time and patience and clear explanations that you've given us this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure to join the discussion.